Testing, 1, 2, testing.
Good evening, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Madera City Council. Tonight is Wednesday, November 15, 2023. It is now 6 p.m. The Madera City Council meetings are open to the public. This meeting will also be available for public viewing and participation through Zoom. Members of the public may comment on agenda items at the meeting or remotely through an electronic meeting via phone by dialing 669-900-6833. Enter ID 811-6624-2263 hashtag. Comments will also be accepted via email at citycouncilpubliccomment@madera.gov or by regular mail at 205 West 4th Street, Madera, California, 93637. I hereby call the regular meeting of the Madera City Council to order at 6 p.m. Alicia, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Garcia?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mejia?
Here.
Councilmember Gallegos?
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Here.
Councilmember Montes?
Here.
Councilmember Evans is absent, and Councilmember Villegas.
Here.
Thank you, Alicia. Would you all please rise for the invocation led tonight by Pam Grewal of the Madera Sikh Temple, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mayor Pro Tem Mejia.
Before I start, I just want to make sure that everyone is here. The way we say it in Sikh community, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. And then also there's ways we just say it that when I say Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh, also everybody says Sat Sri Akal. When Sat Sri Akal means hello. Hello means when everybody says hello that way, everybody's awake and everybody's hearing, right? So at the end of the day, we're all tired, and as soon as we close our eyes, our minds disappear somewhere else. So I just want to say hello to everybody, and I want a response back as loud as possible. We can rock this city hall. Let's do it, okay? Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
I think we can do a little better than that, right, guys? Hello.
Hello.
There you go, a lot better. As we start, heads down, please. Thank you, God, so much for this time and the day, and the day that we have today, and the present time is so beautiful. I ask of you, God, bless the mayor and all the city councilmen and women. I ask you to bless every first call responders, no matter whether they're hospitals, police, or fire department. They are saviors. We are all your servants, God. I ask of you, every single person that showed up at the City Hall today, they believe you one way or the other. Whether we say the prayers or not, at the end of the day, we're all tired. We forget to say thank you. I thank you for everybody. Thank you, God, for bringing me here to say the prayer. I ask of you, God, as the vacations times are here, and also Thanksgiving is here, Christmas is on the way, and New Year is going to start, and old year, which is 23, is going to end. We appreciate your presence in every moment that we are alive in this minute. Dear God, I ask of you to keep us all safe during the holidays. I ask of you to give the strength to this panel, the city council and the mayor, the city attorney, the Parks and Recreation, and the police departments. We serve at the highest level to the knowledge that we have. And I ask you to protect every single person as they're making the difficult decision in their life by keeping you in mind, because we can never go wrong when you are in our mind and we serve people. I ask of you, God, to keep us safe on the road and off the road. Dear God, give every single person the ability to rise, no matter who they are, from the mayor to the homeless. We all have the ability that you give us, and we just don't put it to use sometimes. I ask of you, God, to be with us as we live every single day and we struggle through our lives. Dear God, I thank you for this opportunity. And I thank you, the opportunity you give me to serve the community of Madera. And I wake up every day by thanking everybody and being part of everybody. City of Madera is not it's just a city, it's my family now. I wake up to serve, and I know every single person here, whether they're business owners or they're just your servers. We wake up to serve you. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And thank you, God. Amen.
Amen.
Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Pam.
Okay.
We will now move on to the approval of the agenda. I will now ask the staff if there are any changes to the agenda. Are there any questions from my colleagues or anyone in public wanting to comment on the agenda? There are no public comments, Alicia?
We have none, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I will now ask for a motion or discussion from my colleagues.
I make a motion to present.
Second.
Motion to approve the agenda by Councilmember Villegas, second by Mayor Pro Tem Mejia. All those in, we'll need to do a roll call because Ms. Evans, correct?
No.
We should be fine, Mayor.
We should completely off and not on Zoom. Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. We will now move on to public comment. The first 15 minutes of the meeting are reserved for members of the public to address the council on items which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speakers shall be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers will be asked but are not required to identify themselves and state the subject of their comments. If the subject is an item on the agenda, the mayor has the option of asking the speaker to hold a comment until that item is called. Comments on items listed as a public hearing on the agenda should be held until the hearing is opened. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda, and no adverse conclusion should be drawn if the council does not respond to public comment at this time. Is there any members of the public who would like to make public comment? If so, please step up to the podium. Seeing none, Alicia, do we have any public comment regarding any item or written form?
We have none, Mayor.
Okay. Shannon, would you like to make the announcement regarding the hearing, the public hearing? For the opening of the... Yes, I could do that. So item C2, for your knowledge, will be scheduled for 7 p.m. Regardless of where we are on the agenda, this item will be addressed at 7 p.m. That's item C2, public hearing on number 1 for updating the city council member district boundaries of an ex property. Okay. There are no written communications. We will now come up and make some fun presentations. Thank you. Did you bring the type by any chance? No. Okay. we can fake it. So we have a relationship with the Cuerpo de Bomberos Rurales del Río Colorado, which is in Mexico. Firefighters from Mexico have been partnering with CAL FIRE and the members of the Madera Fire Department over the years, and the Madera Cal Fire Department has been making donations of equipment to the fire department in Rio Colorado. They came up here a couple of weeks ago and they wanted to show their gratitude to both the city council, the mayor, and the fire department for the donations, the generous donations that were made. I'll let you explain exactly what you donated, but they brought us these beautiful plaques. So I'll let you go ahead. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Justin McComb, Assistant Chief for Madera City Fire. I'll just start by introducing some of our local firefighters from Station 58. We have Captain Joe Quizdorf, sorry about that. Firefighter Marco Meraz and Engineer Ryan Steger, and we have Battalion Chief Ralph Duran. So a quick history. Back in November of 2021, Nicholas Gutierrez from Cupo, I'm going to need some help maybe on this, but Cuerpo Rural de Bomberos del Colorado, sorry about that if I butchered that, but contacted Fire Captain Nick Escueda, who works at Station 56 off of Lake Street, and they inquired about some extra gear that we may have. So every 10 years, most of our gear expires and it's not compliant anymore with either state regulations or national. Instead of disposing of the gear, we created a friendship with them and donated enough gear and equipment to equip at least 50 firefighters from that region. So yeah, two weeks ago, they came up and they were very appreciative, and they made their rounds. Actually, they went to Selma Fire and to Fresno City College and gathered some gear up too. So it's a great partnership. We look forward to keeping it for the long term, and it's a really good, feel-good feeling for the city. So
Congratulations on those donations for them. Step up here. We'll take a picture with the rest of the city council. And then you can present to This is the one that's for the city council.
Oh.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. This is.
Four, you want this? Can we slide that shit that way? Ready, 1, 2, and 3. Got it. Thank you.
All right.
Oh, thank you.
So let me see that one.
Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
Yes, we get us multiple ones. Yeah. Thanks. Once again, a round of applause for those donations for the firefighting equipment. You know, that it's been said that one man's trash is another man's treasure. Although there are rules and regulations regarding equipment, they're not torn, they're not trashable, they're actually good equipment, but then the fire department is obligated to get rid of these things. And what better way to get rid of them is to donate it to the firefighters in Mexico. So congratulations to them. The next two are the next two certificates is every year nationally here in the United States, we honor small businesses throughout the country. It's coming up to the holidays and we promote buying local. And so we uplift these local businesses and ask our residents to please patronize them because they are the backbone of our country. They hire local, they generate monies and revenue here locally. And so every year at this time, we promote them and we ask folks to please shop locally in these businesses. So this first certificate goes to Rocio, where are you? Por favor. This first certificate, small business, it goes to Rocio's Bridal and Quinceañera Bridal Shop. Her business is on Yosemite Avenue at 317 East Yosemite Avenue. She's been there for over 5 years. She's a resident of Madera. She has her business, and her family's here. And so tonight we honor her and her local business right here on downtown Madera. And we ask for continued success. Congratulations.
My English is very bad, but I just want to say thank you so much for this recognition. I think I'm nervous. Yeah, I appreciate it. I didn't expect it. He came and visited me at the business and said, if you want to come over to the city council. And this is very nice. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
Just leave it up to the side.
Okay. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
Then ask. Third time. Okay, let's get one more. And another small business that we have here in Madera is the 6-Star Madera Tire and Service Incorporated. He's also been here in Madera for over 5 years, and his business is located on 505 South Gateway Drive. He has helped me personally. I had an emergency when my niece got a tire that went out of commission, completely destroyed, and she had to get back to her family in Los Angeles. And I went to him and I said, "Hey, can you help me out?" And immediately took care of my niece so she could get back home safely during the daylight hours as opposed to the evening hours, which shows local businesses that care about the community and they make sure that our family's taken care of. And I really appreciate him and the service to our community. He's a local businessman here in Madera and lives here in Madera. So I greatly appreciate you and your service. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you to Mayor and City Councils and our city. We are here to serve you. Hopefully we can take care of you whenever you guys come. And that's all I have to say. Sorry. Sweet. Thank you. Hey, thank you.
Oh yeah, I gotta fix that. Can you tell I'm not a suit wearing guy? I can put the right buttons.
Thank you.
Good to see you. See you here. Come over here on this side. Hello.
Hi. Okay, ready? 1, 2, and 3. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Nice to meet you. need to collapse in the chair because we do this in. All right. That was cool. There are no introductions. There are no workshops tonight. We will now move on to the consent calendar. Item B, matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items. Excuse me. If discussion is desired, a member of the public or a member of the council may request an item be removed from the consent calendar, and it will be considered separately. Big consent. Do we have any members of the public wishing to comment on the consent calendar? Seeing none, we close public comment. Alicia, are there any written or Zoom comments regarding the consent calendar?
No, Mayor, we have none.
We will close public comment, bring it back to my colleagues for discussion and or a motion.
I so move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second. Motion to approve the consent calendar by Councilwoman Gallegos, second by Councilmember Montes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. We will now move on to public hearings. Item C1 is a consideration of the mitigated negative declaration prepared for environmental assessment EA number SCH 2023-090606 for the Westbury Bridge Project, City Project B-02. Will you have this item?
Yes, I do, Mayor. Just a moment, please.
For those of you that don't know, Will is an avid hockey player.
All right. Yeah, help me out. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Garcia, Mayor Pro Tem Mejia, council members. Will Tackett, Development Director, presenting this item on behalf of the Engineering Department. The item for you this evening is the consideration of a mitigated negative declaration paired for environmental assessment, State Clearinghouse number 2023-090606. This is for the Westbury Bridge Project, City Project number B02. The project is on the Westbury Boulevard alignment crossing the Fresno River. Westbury Boulevard is planned to be an arterial roadway. The alignment and the arterial designation is included in the circulation element of the Madera General Plan. The existing Fresno River Trail will be rerouted under the south end of the bridge, abutting next to the bridge abutment. And you can see on the image here, this is the area identified as the area of potential effects. On August 3rd, 2022, the council approved a contract with Cornerstone Engineering Group to perform both environmental studies and all engineering permitting application support for the project. Again, the design to accommodate an arterial roadway would include a 402-foot length span, a bridge consisting of 4 travel lanes, it'd be with a median lane divided, 10-foot sidewalks on both sides, 6-foot bike paths on both sides, street lighting along the edges, and a 12-inch water main connection, which will connect water mains on both sides of the river. That water main can be seen somewhat here on the side of the bridge. It will be exterior to the bridge and run along the rail on the outside. Provost and Pritchard Consulting Group, working as a sub-consultant to Cornerstone Engineering, performed an environmental review in accordance with the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act. The resultant initial study and mitigated negative declaration, as well as the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, was prepared. Public notice of intent to adopt was published in the Madera Tribune on September 30th, and the mitigated neg deck was filed with the Office of Planning and Research for vetting with state agencies through the clearinghouse on September 27th. This initiated a 30-day public review period pursuant to CEQA. No public comments were received during the public review period. The San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District did submit comments on October 31st, slightly after the public review period ended. They did this in consultation with staff. Based upon review of the Air District's comments and consideration of the consultant's responses, it is staff's opinion that no new avoidable significant effects were identified, and therefore no new mitigation measures or project revisions would be required based upon those comments. However, based upon the suggestions of that letter, staff did include additional reporting requirements in association with one of the existing mitigation measures. This is simply to assist in ensuring implementation. Those supplemental reporting requirements are not deemed to be required by CEQA, do not create new significant environmental effects in and of themselves, and are not necessary to mitigate an avoidable significant effect. Therefore, recirculation was not determined to be required subject to section 15073.5 of the CEQA guidelines. Also pursuant to CEQA, the council as the elected decision-making body of the lead agency shall consider the neg deck, mitigated neg deck in this case, together with any comments received during the public review process, and shall adopt the proposed mitigated negative declaration only if it finds on the basis of the whole record before it, including the initial study and any comments received, that there is no substantial evidence the project will have a significant effect on the environment. Council needs to do this as a reflection of the lead agency's independent judgment and analysis. Based upon the analyses included, it is staff's recommendation that the council should find on the basis of the whole record that there is no substantial evidence the project will have a significant effect. And accordingly, staff is recommending the council adopt the resolution for the mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program. This concludes staff's presentation, and we're available to field any questions the council may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from our colleagues?
Finish.
Or just questions? I see no questions. Do we have any questions from the public?
We have no written comment and no one on Zoom.
Thank you, Alicia. Go ahead, Mayor.
Bring it back to council.
Yeah.
We'll bring it back to council for questions and or motion.
So I move that we adopt item C1.
Second.
Motion to adopt item C1 by Councilmember Montes, second by Councilwoman Gallegos. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Will. Item C2 is slated for 7 o'clock, so we will bypass that for now, that public hearing. We will now move on to item D, petitions, bids, resolutions, ordinances, and agreements. Item D1 is a new police department parking lot, city project PD 0-01. Mr. Betancourt, or who has this item, Mr.?
I have this item, Mayor.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor Garcia, the Madera City Council. My name is Steve Betancourt. I'm a civil engineer in the engineering department. Let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. I'm here this evening to present the construction award for the new police department parking lot, city project PD-01. Little background on the project. On June 5th, 2018, City Council approved the purchase of 0.33 acres of property adjacent to the police department in the corner of East 7th Street and South C Street. The property is vacant, but while strategically located, the lot is in need of a lot of attention. The pavement, fencing, and gates were deteriorated, posing security concern. I believe one of the prior uses was a used car lot. Staff has outlined a comprehensive plan for renovation, replacement, and upgrades. Primary goal is to provide secured parking facilities for our dedicated city employees. Little details on the project. The project includes clearing and removing all existing pavement, fencing, and miscellaneous electrical and irrigation systems on the site. We'll construct new AC pavement, curbs, and valley gutters. Additionally, we'll install a new 8-foot high slatted chain link fence around the perimeter. The fence matches the height of the existing fence that's currently on the property. The fence will not have any razor wire or anything of that sort. We're going to install new light poles and LED fixtures and security cameras. We'll install new 20-foot wide sliding chain link gates, matching what the police department currently uses. And we're constructing new sidewalk on each 7th Street because currently there is none. We're going to install new landscaping on both frontage streets on each 7th and on South C Street. The property, I'll mention the property, because it's an 8-foot fence, we had to go through the Planning Commission, which approved going from a 6-foot to an 8-foot fence. And the fence is slatted, so it provides visual security. Here's an overview of where the whole police department property. And this piece is just on the north side. There's another view of it towards the tank. Most of the pavement's gone. It's practically dirt now. And here's a plan that was approved by the Planning Commission. I'll mention that this, with the new electric vehicle standards, there is infrastructure going in for 5 of those stalls will be EV capable, although that we're just putting in underground conduits at this point. There is an MID easement running diagonally through the property. There's currently 2 underground 54-inch pipelines. They've been there for many, many years. And we had to take that into consideration for the landscaping and some of the underground work we were doing. On September 26, 2023, the city released the projects for public bidding on Planet Bids web portal and the Madera Tribune. 6 bids were received on November 2nd. The bids were checked for accuracy against bidding requirements, validity of licenses, and bid security. The lowest responsive and responsible bid was from Terra West Construction in the amount of $518,700. Terra West is out of Fresno. Here's a summary of the bid overview. We got 6 bids. We got good coverage. Project funding. The recommended budget for the construction phase is $518,700 plus a 10% contingency. Funding is identified in the fiscal year 2023-24 capital projects budget. The project is being funded by $350,000 from the California Office of Emergency Services as part of a request by the city to State Senator Caballero and Assemblymember Soria. The remaining balance will be paid by Measure K sales tax, Police Department, 1025-2500. Staff's recommendation is to adopt a resolution approving the contract award from the new Police Department parking lot, City Project PD-01, in the amount of $518,700 to Terra West Construction Incorporated and a contingency of 10% of the contract amount. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Do we have any of the members of the public wanting to comment on item D1? Are there any Zoom or written communications regarding item D1, Alicia?
We have none, Mayor.
Okay. We will close public comment on this item. We'll bring it back to council for discussion and/or a motion.
Move to approve item D1 as presented.
Second.
Okay. There is a question.
Apologies.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. Mr. Betancourt, quick question regarding the easement that's currently there. I know that back when this was purchased, when council had purchased this, the easement with those 54-inch pipes there, are those active by any chance?
Yes, they are.
Just want to confirm. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So there is a motion by Councilmember Montes, second by Councilor Villegas to approve item D1. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much, Mr. Betancourt.
Thank you.
Item D2 is an agreement for Vernon McCulloch River Trail Restoration Project. Mr. Hebert.
Okay, Mayor Garcia, Mayor Pro Tem, Council and guests, Joe Hebert, Parks Director. This is item D2 for an agreement for the Vernon McCulloch River Trail. On October 16, 2023, the city received 3 bids in response to an invitation for bid requesting complete seal coating and repairs at the Vernon McCulloch River Trail. The funding for this project comes from the Clean California Local Grant, which was awarded $832,000 and some change for litter abatement, capital improvements along the Fresno River and Vernon McCulloch River Trail. If I can just digress for a moment, I've talked about this Clean California grant quite a few times, and this is like a 4-legged stool. We talked about the park. We've talked about the trail, which is this one. And then also, I do want to mention that we're also going to do some trash receptacles that are part of this grant. So think of it as an ongoing, I'll be back again, is what I'm really trying to say. Is so there's another 4 prongs to this whole thing. So park, river cleanup, trail receptacles and then trash receptacles. The Vernon McCulloch River Trail, it parallels the Fresno River. It begins at Tulare Street and ends west of Catlin Drive. It measures 17,000 linear feet or 3.25 miles. Covers a surface area of roughly 204,211 square feet. The project includes crack fill, pothole repairs, and a seal coating on existing trail surface. Here's some pictures from start, and you can see where it runs. Going down Riverside Drive, again, running some more. That's 3.25 miles and all the way to the end. We released the bid on September 16th, 2023, with a 30-day response time. So the bids were due October 16th, 2023. It was published in the Madera Tribune on September 16th and again on the 23rd. There were at least 5 additional exchange platforms that we put the advertisement in. And we did take note that there were 96 vendors who were notified through Planet Bids, and there were 10 bidders who actually downloaded the project bid items. Out of the bids received, there was 3. So Whitbro, which is incorporated, DBA Sealright Paving and Grading, Anderson Striping and Construction Incorporated, MBS and MBS Engineering, Inc. The low bidder was Whitbro, Inc., and they came in at a bid amount of $190,116. The staff recommends awarding the bid to Whitbro, and they were the lowest responsible and reasonable bid per the requirements outlined in the project's documents. They're an experienced contractor. They've done seal coating. They have over 25 years of experience. Just to note that our engineering estimate actually came in at a little higher at $208,000, and our low bid came in at $190,000. So we figured this is a win for the city. Funding from this project, as mentioned earlier, will come from the Clean California Grant, for which we have plenty of budget to move forward. That includes my presentation. If there's any questions.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Are there any members of the public wishing to comment on item D2, the restoration project? Do we have any written or Zoom? Anyone in attendance on Zoom, Alicia, that we will want to include on this conversation?
We have none, Mayor.
Thank you very much. We will close public comment and bring it back to council for discussion and or a motion. Mr. Montes.
I just have, thank you, Joe. I appreciate all your work you've done on this grant and all the surrounding projects. I just have one question. So there's no contingency. I know this is not like, I don't want to say it's not a huge project. It is a good, big project, but it's relatively straightforward. But there's no contingency on it. If we find some dinosaur bones or anything like that, we don't.
I'm not looking to dig any deals. We're going to seal it.
So there's no contingency on that. Right. Okay. That's all. That's it.
Councilwoman Gallegos.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. Joe, question. I know we put it to bid, we found a bidder, but do we have an estimated time and date of completion on this project?
You know, when we get started, they said they can complete this probably within 30 days once we get started. So
okay.
We'll see. That's our target.
So we'll have that trail for Relief for Life this year. All right.
I sure hope so.
Okay, thank you so
God
much.
willing.
That's all, Mayor.
Have seen no further comments or questions. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve. What is this item? D2.
Second.
Motion to approve item D2 by Council Member Montes, second by Council Member Villegas. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much, Steve. We will now move on to item E, administrative reports. Item E1 is a consideration of special meeting dates and phase 4 city council interviews and final decision procedures for commercial cannabis business permits in the city of Madera. Mr. Tackett, I believe you have this item. I have a question regarding this item here. Rather than go into it tonight, I will recuse myself from this discussion, and Mayor Pro Tem Mejia will lead this part of the discussion until I can get some further clarification. I'd rather not do that today.
So, Mayor, just so I'm understanding, you're recusing yourself from now out of abundance and caution.
Yes.
Just until you can make a determination as to whether or not you can participate in the process.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And thank you. I will now turn it over to Mayor Pro Tem Mejia.
Thank you, Mayor. And this item will be presented by Will.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Mejia. Council members, Will Tackett, Community Development Director, presenting this item on behalf of the Planning Department. It is exciting to be before you this evening. This has been a long process. We're getting close to the end. So what staff is looking for this evening is some last direction from council with respect to how we will schedule and conduct the phase 4 final meetings of the cannabis business permit process. I'm going to provide you with just a little bit of background here. You've seen this before. This was a 4-step permit process as adopted by council in your guidelines. Phase 1 was essentially the application process and determination of eligibility. City received 26 standard retail or micro business applications. After a 5-day cure period, all applications were deemed complete. The phase 2 process was the evaluation and review portion of the process, the scoring. The scoring was prepared by the city's consultant, HDL. It was not conducted by city staff. All but one application scored above 90%, which was the minimum passing score. So you have a very quality pool of applicants here with a very tight scoring grouping. The top 20 standard applicants were advanced to phase 3 for this purpose. Some statistics here that are in your report. Again, this is just intended to represent how tight the scoring was. Of the 25 applicants scoring above 90%, 8 scored 100%. Top 10 applicants were all awarded a score above 99, with only a 0.04% deviation between the 10th and 11th place scores. So again, staff considered, do we advance the top 10 with that type of a group when we thought inviting all 20 to the public meeting process as phase 3 was the best way to try and provide some more distinction for the council's consideration. The top 20 applicants were all awarded a score above 95%, and the total deviation in applicant scores was less than 8%. Phase 3 portion was the public meetings. A total of 5 were held and scheduled during the month of August 2023. Property owners were notified of the Phase 3 meeting by mail. So mailed notices were sent to a 300-foot radius of each proposed cannabis business location. Each applicant was given 5 minutes to present. The public was then invited to provide testimony. We requested that that testimony be limited to the individual applications or their locations. We did hear some concerns of citizens and residents regarding cannabis in general. We attempted to remind them we're past that. Please provide us input on the individual applications. That's what would be most helpful. The applicants were then given an additional 3 minutes to respond or rebut any public commentary that was heard. So here we are now at phase 4. This is the portion where the city council will review the applications. These need to occur, this consideration needs to occur at city council meetings after the phase 3 process is concluded, which it is. The guidelines state that each applicant should be prepared to conduct a brief final presentation in order to be interviewed by the city council. So we're looking at accommodating a process which will allow our top applicants to make a final presentation and to be interviewed by the council prior to making your determination of awards. All 20 applicants selected to participate in phase 3 will be invited to provide phase 4 final presentations. As a reminder, subject to your resolution number 21-167, a total of 6 commercial cannabis business permits may be awarded. However, I'd also like to remind you that the council does reserve authority to modify the number by resolution. Phase 4 process also needs to consider the community benefit agreement outlined in the guidelines. Examples of community benefits in this case were cited as being public outreach and education, community service, payment of fees or other charges as mutually agreed, and such other terms and conditions that may protect and promote the public health, safety, and welfare. Upon successful negotiations with applicants regarding their benefits, the business agrees to provide awarded applicants will then be authorized to proceed to apply for any required land use permits and business licenses and related approvals. Now, again, a reminder to the council, you did not require conditional use permits for these businesses. However, based upon the proposals, either being adaptive reuses of existing buildings, including site improvements, changes, or even one applicant with a new development, there will be entitlements and permits required in addition to the business license. Okay, so the alternatives. This is where we're going to ask for some direction from council as to how we would like to proceed. First, determining the length of the applicant presentations. As mentioned, during the phase 3 process, applicants were given 5 minutes. City staff did consult again with HDL. They suggested 5 minutes is too little for a final presentation. Staff agrees. We were able, to their credit, the applicants were able to provide a lot of information in those presentations. But again, we're looking for distinctions between our applicants in order to make determinations for awards. So we do feel a 10-minute final presentation is appropriate to try and provide some more distinguishment between the applications. Staff is also recommending that the applicants provide their final presentations in PowerPoint format to city staff either 48 or 72 hours in advance. That can be at the discretion of the council, or we can simply choose, but we would suggest no less than 48 hours. The interview portion of this. So how the interviews are to be conducted is not defined in your guidelines. They could be a subsequent, more focused session with more pointed interview questions to either all or a more limited group of applicants, or the council may choose to simply conduct a question and answer session along with the presentations or subsequently. That question and answer session could comprise your interviews. So that's something to consider. So with respect to the interviews, the question for council will be whether or not you wish to interview all the applicants at the same special meeting of the council at which the presentations will be given, or whether or not the council would prefer to receive all presentations and then invite all or a reduced number of applicants to return to the council at a subsequent meeting to participate in interviews. It is important to note to the council that the public these will be Brown Act meetings, so public participation will be required at each step along the way. Interviewing all the applicants at the same meeting does ensure that all applicants will have an opportunity to be interviewed, or at least to have questions asked of them. However, inviting a reduced number of applicants at a subsequent meeting may reduce the time and number of meetings required, but it will also require the council to make a cut, if you will. So following presentations, public testimony, the council will need to announce which applicants it desires to return for, again, more focused interview sessions. The public participation piece, as just mentioned, the public does have a right to comment on the individual applications and interviews once they take place. Staff's recommendation in this regard is that the council provide opportunity for public comment after all applicants have made their presentations. Again, this is just for the sake of expediency and the fact that the public has had opportunity to comment on the individual applications in phase 3. So we wouldn't necessarily expect to hear anything different from what we've heard before, except perhaps in response to what issues the council might bring up or ask of the applicants, or new information which may be presented based upon a longer presentation. Allowing what the council could essentially do is open the meeting up, allow all applicants to present. You can reserve the right to ask questions along the way without that necessarily constituting the interview process. And then, depending upon the time, the item could be continued. You could invite public testimony to occur at a subsequent meeting, or again, the council may elect to receive public testimony concurrent with the presentations or that same evening following all the presentations being given. We will need to determine the number of dates for special meetings. Now, based upon a 10-minute final presentation per each 20 applicants, you're going to have to expect to accommodate 3.5 to 4 hours in just presentation time. This does not account for any Q&A sessions. It does not account for any more focused interview sessions, and it does not account for the public participation piece. This will require some devotion of time. This is your city council calendar through the end of the year. This is for illustrative purposes. Nothing states that we need to finish this calendar year. However, if that is of interest to the council, what this is intended to illustrate is we have 2 Wednesdays left between regular meetings, assume the council would not want to conduct a special meeting before the Thanksgiving holiday break. I would also like to remind the council, nothing requires us to meet on a Wednesday. But we can see if this is a process we want to complete, and at least the awards by the end of the calendar year, time is short. We also need to determine the terms for negotiations of community benefits. Each applicant included their proposal for community benefits within the initial application, and those were attached to your report this evening. So the question here is whether or not the council may wish to just consider further based upon the community benefits originally proposed, or would the council like to provide applicants the opportunity to put their best foot forward, give us a best and final offer at the time of your presentations or interviews? Staff recommends a best and final approach may be in the best interest, and that consideration should be given to all applicable evaluation criteria holistically. So just to remind you, this phase 2 scoring process was weighted with a certain maximum number of points assigned to various criteria. Community benefits is just one criteria. So while it's nice to get a lot in return from these applicants, we should not be basing our decisions solely on what the benefits are. We should be looking holistically at all of the criteria involved. With respect to the meetings, staff is also recommending that the order of presentations be conducted from the lowest ranking applicants to the highest, with the tied applicants being selected at random. This is to protect and retain the integrity of the scores and to avoid giving anybody perhaps a leg up by being able to witness what comes before them, right? So let's give the highest scoring applicants the benefit, allow them to go last so that they're not showing their cards prematurely, if you will. So that does conclude staff's presentation. I know there's a lot to go over there, perhaps in short order before we need to move on to the other item. Let me reset back here.
Show it again.
Let me go show it again. Back to this. And the reason that we want to be succinct in the direction is because the guidelines state that we do need to post to our website the rules for our phase 4 applicants. So we will post the direction council gives us on the website. We'll make sure that our applicants are all advised of what the rules are in advance so that we can be consistent. So starting with the length of applicant presentations.
Before we get started, Will, I'm so sorry. Given that the council is going to be making a direction tonight as we're going through and deciding each one, my suggestion is just briefly open up, see if there's any public comment. If there's not, then we can come back. And then I have one more comment after we do that, if we would, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Will. Do we have any public comment on this item? No. Wait. And then.
Already, assuming public comment has been closed, one approach that is probably easy because you have a lot of decision-making points and you may vary is to do what Will's doing, basically go through them one at a time and see if there's a majority. And then at the very end, he basically put it into a pot. And at the very end, you say, is everybody fine with everything that's in the pot? And as long as the majority agrees, then there you go. That way, it's usually more streamlined. That'd be my suggestion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with respect to the length of applicant presentations, again, our consultant HDL staff agree 10 minutes would be appropriate to provide a final presentation. In no instance would staff recommend less than 5 minutes. So would welcome any comments from the council on that matter.
10 minutes, I'm good with 10.
Go with 10.
Okay. Yeah. 10 minutes.
Oh, 10. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So, sorry, I'm seeing at least 4 nods with 10 minutes, 5 nods with 10 minutes.
Good thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Looks good.
Okay.
Thank you. Does the council have a preference as to the number of hours in advance we would request applicants to provide their final presentations? And either here is fine with staff.
Commissioner, I'm sorry. I'm in the Housing Authority. Councilman Rodriguez.
No, I was just going to say, 48 to 72 hours, I think was appropriate based on staff. I wasn't sure if you needed just thumbs up on that but
again, staff feels either is appropriate. If council doesn't have a preference, we can go with
are we looking for one or the other? I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
Okay. I get that. I always think 72 hours just to give them the benefit of the doubt.
72 hours prior.
Okay, Headway, thank you.
And then I don't know if we have a question or comment from.
That was just my comment that we have to post things 72 hours as electeds in our agenda. So I thought that was appropriate.
Oh, okay. Councilman Montes.
So just a question. So they have to give it to us 72 hours and then obviously they can't change anything. They can say whatever they want, but
that would be correct. Their PowerPoint presentations would be requested to be delivered to city staff 72 hours in advance of the meeting, and we would accept no changes. Now, as you mentioned, they can present outside what's in the content of their slides, but
so they can say community benefits and that's the slide, and then they just come and talk and say whatever they want.
They could.
Okay. So
granted, the community benefits will be contingent upon one of your subsequent decisions here, how that will be allowed to be proposed.
To that one.
Mayor Pro Tem.
it looks like 72 hours. Oh,
no. I was just going to mention that we do have that public hearing at 7. Is that something we're going to put aside, or do we want to suspend this for a bit?
Thank you, Councilmember Rodriguez. We actually have the choice of finishing this item out if you like, if you're in the middle of it, or we can go directly to the 7 o'clock item. I don't see really anyone here probably on that item. So if the council wanted to keep on going on this item for now, that would be perfectly legal.
I would ask that if it'd be appropriate for at least Mayor Pro Tem to ask if there's anyone from the audience. So if that's the case, then we can either take on that public hearing or we can come back and just finish it after.
yes. Okay. Do we have anyone present for that public hearing? And
this would be the public hearing on redistricting for the Village D / Almond Groves annexation property. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So we were at 72 hours.
Yes.
Do we have a thumbs up?
Yes.
Okay. With respect to the interviews, does the council have a preference with respect to whether or not all top applicants would be interviewed at the same special meeting in which presentations will be given, or would the council prefer to receive all presentations and then invite all or a reduced number of applicants to return at a subsequent meeting to participate in perhaps more pointed or formal interviews?
Councilman Montes.
Yeah, I would like to receive the presentations, not necessarily making the decision to reduce, but inviting them all, just so that we can kind of see, especially with the community benefits, but also having them all. I think this is the same item, all present at the same time, not having separate meetings. To your point of not giving somebody a leg up, right? Because if we do half of the meetings, well, even if some of the applicants aren't there, it's a public meeting. It's going to be broadcast, and they'll be able to get okay. And if their meeting is separate, then they would have more time as well, right? They would have a separate 72-hour deadline, correct? Or are we going to say you have to have it by this date, even though your presentation is a week later? Because then it's not 72 hours.
With respect to the presentations, we would request that they deliver their presentations to staff in advance of whatever date their special meeting to present their presentation is. And there will be a consideration whether or not we think we can get through all 20 in one special meeting of presentations, which would be, again, close to a 4-hour meeting. Mm-hmm. Or do we split that up 10 and 10, in which case we're cutting that number in half?
Okay. So then can I answer a couple of these at once? So I would prefer to do them all at once, all 20 at once. And then I would not be opposed to having, I know staff is probably going to be like, what the heck, but not on a Wednesday, maybe on, I don't know, Saturday or another day where we're not having other business. Or, I mean, if council is so inclined to clear the agenda for that one. But I'm not opposed. I'm not saying we have to have it on Wednesday or not have it on Wednesday. I just think it might be easier to do it on another day. Maybe a Saturday morning or something. I don't know.
So staff's hearing bite the bullet. Let's get through all of them.
I know staff is going to be like,
and then let's discuss how the interviews will be conducted following that. So do we want to hear them all in one meeting, or do we want to split it up? Let's start with that.
One meeting.
So you brought up a good point about 3.5 to 4 hours. Every time someone presents, though, that's 10 minutes that go. Then there's another additional 5 minutes maybe of preparation for the next. So time-wise, I know we're talking 200 minutes. That's well over 3.5 hours. Is 4 hours sufficient?
If all that we'll be doing is receiving presentations and limiting Q&A or public participation to a subsequent meeting, then yes, 4 hours should be enough to receive all the presentations, including turnover between. Okay. You're correct. We're at about 3.5 hours, a little bit more, right? Just in the presentations alone. So again, if we limit all the other proceedings that occur, the Q&A, the public participation, and we're just focusing on receiving the applications, yeah, 4 hours, we can get through it. We may run a little over, but it'll be about 4 hours.
Yeah, and I think we can certainly knock that out in the evening. But I do think that for staff, I don't know if I'm certainly would not oppose to a Saturday. I mean, if that's something that we can all agree on, I certainly think that we can knock it out throughout a weekday. But again, we're doing this after the fact. You know, it's after 5 o'clock. Do we all have the energy to really start looking at 20 interviews? I think you want to catch us fresh, cup of coffee in the morning. Let's get it through, but make sure we get through correctly. You know, we're not having to kind of die down midway. I mean, I want to be able to give energy to all 20 applicants and not have to feel that I'm listening to the same repetitive, redundant. And what I mean by that is that there's going to be presentations that are similar in nature and what the community benefit is and might be. So I figured maybe a Saturday would be appropriate.
And with a Saturday, you'd have potentially more community participation. Again,
that's always been the issue, is that we do certain things sometimes. But I mean, I like either evening. I prefer a Saturday.
Council's discretion, staff supports, and will accommodate.
Appreciate you guys.
And if there's a date, I mean, I would suggest that December 2nd or 9th would be the dates available. And that would be prior to our next meeting, our second meeting in December, I think. You had
during the day or night?
So we'll skip ahead a little
Day
bit
or night?
then.
Morning?
And here's our calendar dates.
Thursday, it's a Thursday, the 9th. Oh, no, the 9th. For me, December 9th. Just because December 2nd is my sister's birthday.
Yeah, that's fine. And this way we can give 6 participants their early Christmas, right? Get it going.
I'm available on the 9th.
December 9th.
Oh, wait. No, I'm not available on the. Yes, I am. On the calendar.
Okay, so staff is hearing Saturday, December 9th as the meeting to receive final presentations.
Thumbs up.
I would agree.
Okay, 4 thumbs up.
Not bad on Saturdays.
Okay, Saturday, December 9th.
You guys can conduct the meeting that.
So, is there a time you would like to start, like 9 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
I think we can wrap this up by 1 o'clock. So if we can start early, maybe 9 at the earliest, then, or if somebody has any reservations to do it sooner.
7? Oh man.
On a Saturday.
Or the 7 on the Saturday.
Okay.
9.
Or 9, see 1 pound, 2 pounds. 2 pounds for 9.
10.
See 1 pound for 10.
Oh, my.
You got 10.
I'd like to do it the sooner the better.
Okay, 9.
Get easier for.
So you got 3?
The room. Okay. Okay, 9 in the morning.
Okay, let's back up again here. Okay, and then I think I was hearing from the council members that there's not an interest in making a cut or reducing the number of applicants for final interviews, or is that something you would wish to consider?
Well, I kind of tend to agree to what Councilmember Montes had mentioned, is that we, being the nature of how far we've been here, obviously litigation always seems to rise in some occasions. I think it's only important and transparent to make sure that we listen. I mean, the points that you give them, I mean, you said 95% of them scored very high, which is a very big grouping. And it seems like all of them did fairly well. So I think it would behoove us to at least entertain to see every single interview and then make that cut accordingly.
Well, you will receive all presentations and have an opportunity for questions and answers, however, regardless of how you define the interview process. The question is, once you do that, do you want that to constitute the entirety of the interview process, simply a question and answer session after you receive all presentations and have the ability to have raise those questions with all applicants? Or do you want to narrow the field at some point and give yourselves the opportunity to absorb information, come back with more pointed questions, perhaps?
I think that if I was going to ask the question, this is me, I think I keep it very simple for all. And it's the same question for all applicants so that there isn't any, no applicant feels like they're being favored and or biased in that capacity, but rather if the question is in general, your community outreach, what exactly do you anticipate? Can you please define? So then you want that same question to be answered by every single applicant instead of kind of steering off, and that could potentially come back, I don't know, and backfire at some point. So I think we just keep it streamlined, ask the same question. And again, looking at any potential liability for the city.
Agreed. So hearing no cuts, then provide yourselves the opportunity to ask similar questions and interview all top applicants.
Well, I just have a question on that. So not all of the applicants are vying for the same location. They're not going to be the same size. So we will inherently have different questions, right? So somebody from the public comes in and says, hey, the traffic is going to be an issue at location A, but it isn't going to be an issue at location, I don't know, Z, however many applicants we have. But
Yes, staff would not suggest that you necessarily have to ask the same questions of all applicants. The council may choose to do so, but you're correct. You're going to see all applicants have proposed a different location. And you have them fairly scattered throughout your city. There were exhibits attached to your report that kind of show the concentrations and spreads. You do have some recommendations of food for thought, if you will, in your council report as well. It's not my intent to get into that this evening, but things that you might want to consider in how you evaluate your final scores or determine your awards. So I think I'm hearing that the council wishes to provide all applicants an opportunity to be questioned or to question all applicants with respect to their individual applications. So staff would suggest if that's the case, let's just not make a cut. And then the council can determine whether or not your question and answer sessions following the presentations will basically that will comprise the entirety of your interview, if you will.
So I do have a question with the report. We can have subsequent meetings, so we can have the initial meeting, pare it down, and then invite people back. So you're saying that we wouldn't be able to do that? We'll make that decision now?
You can schedule any number of special meetings that you require to get through this process.
Oh, I want more special meetings, but.
So if on December 9th, the council wishes to only hear presentations without public participation or a heavy question and answer session. Again, you can ask questions at any point during the proceedings. And what staff would suggest is you receive the presentations on the 9th after you open up the meeting. You schedule a subsequent meeting to invite the public testimony, or you hear the public testimony following the presentation of all the applications, which would also be on the 9th. So again, receive all presentations, and then at a subsequent meeting, invite public testimony and conduct your Q&A sessions, if you will. That would be essentially 2 special meetings to get through the majority of the process, with perhaps the potential to announce awards by the end of the calendar year. So you might have one special meeting that's fairly long, 4 hours, get all the presentations. You continue the matter to a subsequent special meeting at which you'll receive public testimony, and you'll have the ability to conduct your Q&A or interview sessions.
I think that I like that idea better, just because I feel like if you weren't present, you would have the opportunity to watch it on YouTube and just be able to absorb it with more time, and then just come back and be ready to have that discussion. And I'm talking about the public in this case.
Okay, well.
So this would be 2 meetings, right? One would
Under
be
that scenario, yes.
The 4 hours that we go through on a Saturday, come back and then do a Q&A.
You would need to come back. If you don't receive public comments on December 9th following the presentations, you will need to continue the matter and invite that public participation at a subsequent meeting. That subsequent meeting could accommodate both the public participation as well as your Q&A sessions. And then you have a subsequent meeting to the presentations where you're really engaging, right, both with the applicants and the public prior to making your decisions. So one meeting you're getting presentations, the next meeting you're getting into it. You're receiving the public testimony, you're asking your questions, and you can either make a decision following that, or you can announce awards again at your next regular meeting of the council, however you wish to do that.
You know, and it makes sense that, we sit and watch the presentations. Obviously, there's always public comment. And at times, if there's 20 applicants, there could be supporters for every one of those. And that could potentially take some time. So I think maybe in a subsequent meeting, we can address that. And at that time, maybe ask some of the questions.
And for that reason, that's why staff is suggesting you take all the public testimony after you've received all the presentations. So it's not one applicant gets up and presents and you have a host of the public commenting on that. And then they feel obligated to comment on the next one and the next one and the next one. Roll them all up into a bundle after they've had opportunity to hear all the presentations. They can formulate comments comprehensive to the group or specific to individual applications. You can receive all of that at once. You can base your Q&A sessions or interview questions off of what you saw in the presentation and as well of what you heard from the public. And then at that point, you'll be able to make an informed decision, hopefully.
I just feel like as much as, we want to get this thing done, I think we wanted to get this done yesterday. But I think it's best to do it in a way that's going to be very transparent.
Get it right.
And, the time, I guess, it is valuable for us here. Obviously, we each have other careers and or family matters that we tend to on Saturdays. But I think it's important that we get this out of the way in a way that's more transparent and at the same time fair for all applicants and the constituents that are going to participate in the public comment. So if the council feels like this would be a good way, a subsequent meeting to follow up, then I certainly would approve.
So do December 9th for that special meeting and then come back on the 13th or the 20th because we'll have a regular meeting on the 6th or the 20th, right?
Correct.
The 20th.
Yes. So we would have the presentations on the 9th and then the subsequent meeting, if you wish to conduct that on December 13th, that would be absolutely appropriate.
Council, if I may add something, I believe Wednesday or December Wednesday the 13th, I believe that's a Housing Authority meeting date.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not very long.
Usually.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, they're not that long.
And Will, if I may, Mayor Pro Tem, I was going to call you Madam Chair. So once we get through this process on the 13th, can we bring this back at what point can we start getting the selection of these awardees? But when is soon after this phase, can we get down to and say this is a cutoff and final and we're going to award these at December 20th meeting? Is that something that staff can accommodate?
That's a possibility. So once the council receives presentations, receives public testimony or accommodates public participation, and has completed their opportunity to interview the applicants to your satisfaction, you may then announce awards. That if the December 13th special meeting date would be the date in which you received public testimony and conducted your interview sessions, you could announce awards at the end of that special meeting on the 13th. Or the council could come back at its regular meeting on the 20th and announce its final awards.
Or just to really muddy the waters, you could call for a special meeting at any time thereafter and announce it at a subsequent meeting. It's truly at the prerogative of the council.
I think that given the 9th and the 13th, I think that would be plenty of time for us to come up so that we're not having to, I know everybody's busy in their schedules, so I'd hate to get staff, not necessarily staff, but even us, caught up in all these meetings. If we can narrow that down to 2 meetings and maybe come up with a list of the awardees.
Okay.
I would look to legal counsel, but if it was the council's desire to announce awards at a separate meeting from the 13th or a subsequent meeting, I believe that public could be closed and that could be limited to just the deliberation of the council. But otherwise, yes, if you want to announce awards following the public participation and Q&A interview sessions, you can do it at the same meeting. And that could be the 13th if that is the date the council so chooses.
It looks like we're going to do those too, but I think that because we're going to have all the Q&A on the 13th, you're making a decision with all 20 are still going to be there, right? If we're not taking public comment on the 9th, I don't know, it'd probably be best to do the decisions on the 20th, but we can, it doesn't matter. Like we can just say, hey, these are the ones that we're going to do. We don't have to do anything special, but if we can't come to that decision on the 13th, we can always go to the 20th because we're already going to have a regular meeting there. We just have to let staff know. So it sounds like we got that sorted out. So 9th is the presentations. 13th is the public comment and the Q&A.
Interviews, yes.
Interviews. And then we can decide there. And if we don't decide there, then we decide on the 20th, the next meeting, regular meeting. So we won't have to schedule anything now, but we can plan on.
Again, and not to muddy, but you also don't have to award all 6 at once.
That would muddy the water even more.
Well, I didn't want to let Arnaldo one up me on muddy the water.
Really?
Well, that makes sense. So if somebody is just like, you get one that's like, oh my goodness, they're the ones, right? But then you have 2, 3 other ones that are kind of like, what, 0.04% away from each other. Have more time to deliberate.
Okay, so we are setting the 9th as the special meeting date at 9 a.m. for receiving presentations. And we're looking at December 13th as the special meeting date to receive public testimony and participation and conduct interviews. I'm assuming that December 13th would be 6 p.m., same as a regularly scheduled meeting.
I think it would be about 7, wouldn't it?
7.
Yeah,
Oh.
7 p.m.
6:30.
I would say 6:30.
6:30?
Unless we have, sometimes we do have legal
Oh, okay.
counsel.
Should we do 7 just to be safe?
If you set it for 6:30, you can always start later.
Oh, okay. 6:30
Or that 6:30 or thereafter.
or thereafter.
So those from
And then December 20, just the regular city council meeting, right?
And if I could bootstrap on that, 10-minute presentations, 72 hours in advance with regards to any PowerPoints submitted to staff, all 20 at once, Saturday, December 9th, 9 a.m. Interviews, second meeting, public comment, question and interviews, December 13th, a backup meeting if necessary on December 20th. I get everything?
I think the last one was the last best and final needs to be included in that.
Yeah, so our last question for the council will be whether or not you want to accept only the community benefit proposals that were included in the original application, or whether or not you want to give the applicants a last chance to put their best foot forward and their best and final proposal for your consideration.
A last chance for a better gift for Christmas.
Question regarding if we do conduct this on the 13th, where we're presenting the awards, and or on the 20th, what would be the process of selecting those awardees? Would it be through a tally, or how would we conduct that?
It's another good question. Any suggestions, Shannon?
Well, from a legal perspective, the best perspective would be the council give us direction as the ones that give staff directions as the ones that you would select. We come back with a resolution for final approval, and that can be done on the consent calendar.
Okay.
But you can, in theory, do it orally, but you would need at least 4 people to approve a resolution. So
you do like CDBG, right?
That's what I was going to suggest.
Have everything kind of like on a spreadsheet and like, okay, you voted for this. Seems like it.
Based of each individual council member's tally, then I think we can kind of figure out where it's at. And based on that, are we good with that? If numbers lie where they lie, I mean, they fall where they fall.
Well, right. So if any of them get 4, then they're good to go, right?
Yeah.
And that could be problematic because you could have more than 6 receiving 4. It just depends on the number. So at one point, there may be some difficult conversations amongst the council to almost force rank. And I'm not too sure if I'm using the appropriate, can the phrase force rank, but that potentially could be one option.
This council?
Yes. Oh,
sorry.
You know, another approach is just identify, let's say, your top 6. And for any one of those top 6 that already has 4, you already know you got 4 votes for them, right? As your top 6. So let's say 4 people shared 5 in common, then you know that they're going to be 5 of the 6 licensees, and then the discussion will be limited as to who's that 6th license, or if you wanted to do the 6th license.
Right. Or like you said, if more than 6 receive 4,
yes,
right, it's a possibility. Then you eliminate everybody else that didn't get anything, and then you start hashing out the ones that are left.
So you could literally go down a list if you wanted to and say, you know, candidate 1, are there 4 votes for putting them the next stage? Number 2, 3, 4. And if you end up with 7 of them, then you go back to the second filtration at that point.
Go with that.
What can go wrong?
Okay, so I think we are settled on that. And last matter. So the best and final proposals, staff would suggest that we should ask to receive those in advance of the meeting where we will receive presentations. So we might ask them to provide their presentation 72 hours in advance and their best and final community benefits proposal 72 hours in advance. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, question for you, council. When we go through this process of eliminating, would there be an opportunity for any of the other non-selected entities to come up and make public comment? At that time, I think we've already decided this is what we want. Let's move forward. Should there be an opportunity? And I want to ask legal counsel to see.
If you continue the meetings and allow public comment, once that public comment is closed, even if you continue the meetings afterwards, there is no requirement to reopen it. Council can deliberate, go through multiple phases, even if it's at separate meetings. So to answer your question, yes, you can deliberate and there's no opportunity or no requirement to reopen it up for public comment. It's already been done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Was that it?
Thank you. I know that was convoluted. That's why we needed some help.
It's pretty smooth.
Appreciate it.
And I actually did have a question. Will?
Yes, please.
I wanted to know if there's what the city's enforcement process would look like to ensure that the conditions of issuance are honored.
With respect to the community benefits, it's likely going to be in-house monitoring, meaning that's something staff or individuals associated with various groups who might be the recipient of benefits would have to monitor. Other commitments, there's been some discussion with staff as to whether or not it may make sense to bring HDL back on board to help with items such as the post inspections and making sure that they are keeping up with their commitments with respect to the physical property, their structures, their buildings, their operations, those items.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah, much of the community benefits, I think it's going to have to be worked through with staff and or the individuals who are the recipients, but staff will likely bring something back for council consideration to consider, do we want to bring HDL back on board to help us with post-occupancy stuff?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, now we're done with this item. The next item would have to be the public hearing for updating of the council district boundaries. That's item C2. And I believe the mayor can participate in that item.
Yes. We're gonna bring him back.
Mayor Pro Tem. Don't ask me.
We're in the public hearing. Yeah, you can open up the public hearing.
D2? C2. We will now move on to item C2, public hearing number 1 for updating the city council member district boundaries for annexed property. Alicia, do you have this item?
I do, Mayor. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening, we have public hearing number 1 for updating of city council member district boundaries for annexed property. Summary of this item is to provide information on the districting process for properties annexed into the city and the permissible criteria to be considered to modify district boundaries. It's also to conduct a public hearing to receive public input on district boundaries to account for property annexed to the city. On April 6, 2022, Council adopted an ordinance amending the Madera Municipal Code regarding by-district elections, adjusting the boundaries of city council election districts, and confirming such revised council boundaries. And some background, there's significant annexation, including the villages at Almond Grove, has occurred since the adoption of the current boundary maps. The recently annexed area is primarily characterized by agricultural land with several existing homes. Despite being within the city, the annexed area is not currently within any council district. And the lack of district assignment necessitates a modification of council district boundary maps. As for the existing boundaries, Council adopted its current district boundary maps based on the 2020 U.S. Census data. Equitable population distribution. The current configuration of the 6 council districts prioritizes approximately equal division based on population. This approach ensures fair and equitable representation for all residents across the districts. And the goal is to avoid population disparities among districts, promoting fairness in the distribution of elected representatives. Land area versus population. It's crucial to note that while the land areas of the district may differ, ranging from 587 to 3,342, the regulatory focus is on population and not land area. This ensures that the distribution aligns with the democratic principles of representation rather than geographical size. Here's a current map of the city council election districts. And to the left of District 1 is the villages at Almond Grove. This was annexed in 2022. Here's an aerial photo of the annexed property. Council typically chooses where the district lines will be drawn every 10 years based on the latest U.S. Census. Between these 10-year updates, changes to the district boundaries are typically not allowed under the Elections Code. There is an exception for new territory has been annexed, and the annexed territory contains less than 25% of the city's population. State law sets strict criteria for these updates. Council must add the new territory to the nearest existing council district without changing other council district boundaries. There are some procedural requirements for this, and the public will have the opportunity to draw and submit district maps for council's consideration, and the city may develop its own maps for consideration. The city must hold at least 4 public hearings that enable community members to provide input on the drawing of district maps. And the mandatory criteria, any annexed property must be added to the nearest existing council district, and no other changes to existing council districts may occur. Tonight's recommendation is to receive a report from staff on the redistricting process and permissible criteria to be considered to redraw district boundaries, and to conduct a public hearing to receive public input on district boundaries. And that concludes tonight's presentation, Mayor.
Thank you, Alexia. I will now open the public hearing regarding this item. Do we have any members of the public wishing to address this item at this time? Alicia, do we have any written or Zoom comments regarding item C2?
No one on Zoom, Mayor, and no written public comment.
Thank you very much. I will now close public comment on this item, and I will now bring it back to my colleagues for discussion.
Mr. Mayor, if there's no discussion by the council, you can actually move to the next item at your convenience.
There will be a total of 4 hearings on this item in the
Yes, 4 hearings plus adoption of the ordinance. So this will be in front of you approximately 5 to 6 times minimum, and we need to get it done before April. And so we are We are looking at the calendars very closely to make sure that we can get this information to the county elections officials by the dates and deadlines. And this district is planning for the future. I think there's less than 12 people out there right now, but it's a process. It's easier to go through at this point, and it's more appropriate to allow them, now that they're in the city, the opportunity to actually vote in city elections as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean. We will now move on to item F. Council member reports, announcements, future agenda items. This portion of the meeting is reserved for the mayor and council members to make brief reports on boards, committees, and other public agencies, and at public events, to request updates, to initiate future agenda items, and to take action on matters initiated under this section of the agenda. Under this section, the council may take action only on items specifically agendized and which meet other requirements for action. Councilwoman Gallegos.
Ooh, thank you, Mayor Garcia. I would like to do a shout out to our staff for helping the grand opening of the Smart and Final in the city of Madera. Wow, what a turnout at 6:30 this morning. Kind of cool, but people were out there. We had our first customer who was our city manager for Smart and Final. I got it on in a picture if anybody wants proof. So that was pretty exciting to be out there this morning with the community just all in awe of everything that they have to offer to us. Another shout out to our staff, wishing them a very happy Thanksgiving in our community, to have safe travels and make it back to us home safe. And that's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Council member Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Garcia. I did have an opportunity to attend the golf course advisory committee meeting that took place on Monday. And over the last couple of months, I think we've been meeting and trying to bring a workshop, or at least some of the members, the representative members, to come and speak on behalf of the advisory alongside Parks Director Joy Bear and their staff. Really kind of give you an idea of what's taking place out at the golf course, what can be expected, especially with the new agreement, looking into the agreement, making sure that we hold not only SGM accountable, but ourselves as well. There are some concerns in regards to the actual building, the clubhouse itself, where one of the tenants is now, that Sugar Pine Smokehouse. I think it requires immediate attention. There is some possible liability issues with some sidewalk and ADA stuff that I think it's important for us to at least listen to. So hopefully in the first meeting of December, one of the respective members can come up either through a workshop presentation and or public comment to let you know what's taking place and how we can come back to council to prepare a report and ask for direction based on the advisory's suggestions. That being said, the course is looking really nice. I mean, if you haven't been out there, the Sugar Pine Smokehouse is doing a really good job. They're attracting a lot more businesses, service clubs. And my understanding is that they are bringing a big ag community, I think sometime in April they're going to host something big there with ag. And I think it's going to be big for not only the hotels, but also for the city of Madera. So I know they're doing a lot of good things to promote Madera. I think it is upon us to also be very prudent in trying to make sure that we keep that park at the best and upkeep it at the best possible way that we can with improvements. That being said, I also wanted to, there was an item before us, I think item B5, which was the letter of support for the Madera County Transportation in regards to some of the ITIP projects that are coming before us. So just like we have our capital improvement projects for the city, the state also has that for transportation. And this specific part of the state's transportation, on their plan, they have 3 projects from Madera. One of them being I hate to use the word widening, but that's finishing the Avenue 12 to 7. That's an additional 6 lanes. I know a lot of people don't like the word widening, but this is the only bottleneck gaps that exist throughout the 99. It's in Madera County, Tulare County, and Merced County. So completing these would make us whole. Again, it's more of a safety issue. I know there's been some concerns regarding, well, if you widen and expand more, then that just means that you're adding more congestion, right? But at the same time, it's a safety issue. About 70 to 73,000 vehicles travel through the 99. Of that, 20% are trucks. And if you could imagine, if you're on a 2-lane, then safety becomes an issue, especially when you're coming into Madera. So I'm very glad to hear that we are supporting that. The other item is also on the north side of 99 from Avenue 17 to 21.5. There has been some money allotted for environmental study that hopefully in the future may be another completing the other gap that exists in Madera. Last but not least, of course, the high-speed rail in the Avenue 12 that with the Joint Powers Authority, the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority, they are going to make that their station with Amtrak stopping there and then allowing the high-speed rail to take on the remaining passengers from Merced to Bakersfield. So that being said, that's also exciting. So I'm glad that we're doing that. Both Council Member Gallegos and I sit on the Transportation Commission, and I know that with her help, we've been able to accomplish some of these goals. So last but not least, I did happen to come across the article on the Tribune regarding Mr. Stephen Frazier, Papa Murphy's here in Madera. I wanted to just send out my condolences to the family. I know that he was a trailblazer here, especially in Madera. This is former mayor and former supervisor Brett Frazier's father. So I just want to send out my condolences also to his spouse, which is Dr. Sally Frazier. So yes, with that, that'll conclude my comments. And again, just thanks for everything that they're doing. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your commitment and dedication. Thank you.
Councilmember Montes.
Yeah, I also want to say thank you to staff. Today at the Smart and Final grand opening, they were very complimentary of staff and how easy you guys were to work with. And so they were just very complimentary. And I was like, okay, let's get some more projects going here. And they were like, okay, we'll start talking about that already. So thank you for that. I do want to apologize to staff for all the special meetings. Hopefully everybody does have a good Thanksgiving, and condolences to the Frazier family. And that's it for me.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Mejia.
Thank you, Mayor. Since we last met, I attended the Day of the Dead celebration at Courthouse Park. I want to give a special shout out to our County Supervisor, Leticia Gonzalez, for supporting that celebration on behalf of the indigenous communities of Madera. The County of Madera and also the City of Madera helped put that on for the third time for the residents. There was free pozole that was given out. There were free treats, and I know that the community enjoyed it. They were there until the very end. They had a great time. So thank you everyone who attended. I also was at Courthouse Park for the Veterans Day celebration. It was a very beautiful ceremony, and I am glad that we were able to honor our veterans here in Madera. And lastly, I attended the celebration. It's been 17 years that the Triqui community in Madera has held this celebration, and it's in honor of the patron saint, San Martin Caballero. So congratulations to them. They had a huge turnout. They had a lot of support, and I was just very happy to be there and see them continuing this tradition. And that concludes my report, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Villegas.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. Yeah, I'm also attending the Veterans Celebration recognitions, and that's one of the good things. Recognize all those people that risk their life to our country. This morning, I also attend the new reopening of the Smart Final. It's good for the city that this kind of building be occupied and not empty and exposed to vandalism or some of the homeless. Also, we went to Merced this morning for the Ana Caballero presentation about CO2. It's about the pollution. They gave us a good presentation about how they gonna try to get rid of this this pollution. They're going to put it under the ground. We're not totally agree about that. So whatever comes, this is just the beginning. Maybe some of those ways that are presented, they not work. So, but according to them, they're going to put it on the ground. So that was a good presentation and everything. I'm not completely satisfied about the way they're thinking they're going to put it on the ground. So maybe it didn't work that way. So whatever happened, this is a good introduction for me because I'm going to be a representative of the League of California City Environmental as a member next year in the beginning of the year. So it's a lot of things that maybe come out according to this presentation. Maybe some people agree, maybe don't. Some don't agree. So whatever comes, maybe a better solution, or maybe this solution is going to work. So we're looking forward for that. The Central Valley is exposed to a lot of pollution, so that should be some kind of help for the Central Valley. And that's my report.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Villegas. Some of the items that I was going to mention have already been mentioned, so I won't repeat. I was very impressed by the Pomegranate Festival that we had at the fairgrounds. It was very well put together and attended. Different items that the community was able to showcase. Councilwoman Evans, in conjunction with the NAACP, held a breakfast for veterans on that Friday morning prior to Veterans Day. It was very well attended. It was standing room only. And it was a wonderful breakfast to celebrate and honor our veterans in our community. Of course, again, the Veterans Day that we had at Veterans at the memorial at Madera County Courthouse Park was an excellent tribute to our veterans in our community also. On Monday, Assemblywoman Esmeralda Soria, in conjunction with Latinos Unidos Club, had a distribution of food along with the Madera County Food Bank, provided foods and fixings for Thanksgiving, along with 250 turkeys. So the community came out in force, and they benefited from the generosity of her leadership and to get companies to donate those 250 turkeys. She promised that will not be the last, that she will be providing that in the future. And you mentioned, Mr. Villegas, the trip that yourself, myself, our city manager, Arnoldo Rodriguez, and Councilwoman Evans made the trip to Merced this morning to talk about carbon capture and the effects of CO2 in our communities, and how we can mitigate those circumstances. And lastly, we were able to, myself and Mayor Pro Tem were able to go to Madera South High School and congratulate and provide certificates to parents who are involved in an organization, a nonprofit called PIQUE, and that is for providing educational resources to parents so that they could further their children's education, something that we all could have benefited back in the day when these didn't exist. They were folks show you how to fill out FAFSAs, and not only FAFSAs, but provide tours to colleges in our community so that people can get used to the idea of going to college. And we had a discussion not only of college campuses, but also of building trades, because we forget that the building trades are also an excellent example of employment in the future that people can be aware of and then participate in. And so that'll wrap it up for me. Thank you very much for attending here tonight. Thank you for your patience. We will now move on to closed session. Shannon, would you please take us to item G to our closed session?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We have 3 items for closed session. G1, Public Employee Performance Evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B1, Title City Clerk. G2, Conference of Labor Negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, Agencies Designated Representatives, Mayor Santos Garcia, Unrepresented Employee City Clerk. Item G3, Conference of Legal Counsel Anticipated Litigation, deciding whether to initiate litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4. One case. Thank you.
That's a mouthful and quick too. Thank you very much, y'all. Then have a good evening.
An invitation for everybody this Saturday. The Madera County Food Bank is going to be distributing food. Usually we start the distribution at 9, but if we get everything ready, sometimes we start at 8:30. You guys are welcome to come and help.
Thank you. Regarding the closed session items, any members of the public? Saying none. Any other Zoom or unwritten comments? Alicia?
We have none, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mayor.
Thank you, Alicia. We are back. We are back from closed session. Shannon, would you bring us back from closed session, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. There was no reportable action taken in closed session.
Thank you very much. I now adjourn this meeting at 9:54. Our next meeting dates are Wednesday, December 6th, 2023, and Wednesday, December 20th, 2023. Thank you very much for your attendance. Good night.
And December 9th.
That's not in. Oh, okay. December 9th.
That was added.
That was added. Okay, not a problem. December 9th, 2023.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.